Merry Meet Annie here. This video and a second one I'm going to post are in response to this week's Pagan Perspective topics. They are a bit expansive this week and cover quite a bit. Any one of the questions could probably be a lengthy video, so it is a good challenge to keep answers short on this one. Kara asked if the subs would be sure to do video responses this week to get our videos on the site, so indeed I will do that, and I'm quite glad to. In the meantime, I'm looking forward to seeing the rest of what the hosts post this week and to your comments. The first of the two videos I'm going to do is about that initial reaching out of making contact with teachers and mentors and others. And this was part of a question that also included the safety around that, and also at that period in our lives when we're studying and beginning, what resources do we use? And it was a specific question asking the hosts, what was it for us when we started? What resources did we use? So I'll take that on first, which is going back to really my teens, and that is resources. Now, in the days at which I was the age of so many of our viewers here, a youngster in my teens, the information on Wicca was not out there. It was at that point just arriving in the United States, so certainly hadn't gone out anywhere yet that we would know of it, no less a teenager knowing of it. In my case, though, I would not have been able in my home to have overtly studied anything of that nature anyway. It just would not have been possible. Now, I had the benefit of leaving home very early, and at 17 was on my own, and I had a lot of freedom then not to worry about an adult having an opinion or saying a yes/no to anything I wanted to do. But when I still lived at home, I was exploring the world beyond the Christianity of my family and the way I had been raised. And that was done by reading comparative religion, philosophy, history, archaeology, mythology, the study of indigenous cultures, which was probably one of my favorite things to do. I love studying about native spirituality, everywhere from Hawaii to New Zealand to Africa to the East to Canada, everything strangely except the indigenous spirituality of my foremothers and forefathers, which was Ireland and England and Germany. I picked up on that later in life, but not so much then. Maybe there wasn't as much available, I don't remember. And there was poetry, the study of especially nature poetry. All of it wrapped up into a widening of the consciousness and an opening up of the possibilities of what it could be. None of that was something that could not happen at home while still under my parents' rule. Not long after I left home, I found myself in a situation where I was receiving counseling after a very short and very violent marriage, and the counselor suggested I visit a group of women who came together for the purposes of healing and sharing woman's time. So I had my first introduction to group goddess spirituality, both in the understanding that it existed in the modern world and in the sense of women coming together and feminine power, by being safely introduced from a counselor to this group. And then within that group, I met a woman who actually was very involved with a Dianist circle. Not calling themselves Wiccan, but very influenced by, at that point, that movement that was beginning to move out of New York here on the East Coast. Out of that group, I then met the wider world of pagans on the East Coast, the Middle Atlantic coast, New York, Baltimore, Philadelphia, that area. I was lucky. There was never a point at which I was out there looking on my own. Everything was a matter of an expanding network, friends introducing you to friends, meeting new people, all within kind of an expanding, growing family. It was a really exciting time, and it was, to my mind, so much safer than it is now. It seems strange to say that because everything was in person then. This is pre-internet. We met by writing, we met through ads and magazines. It was all in person, and yet it was a simpler, less complicated, and safer time. I'm not saying there were never bad stories. I am saying I never experienced anything but positive. It got more confusing once we went online, where you never know for sure who you're dealing with. There are people very skilled at posing and representing themselves any way they choose. And that is, at times, not just frustrating and a waste of time, but dangerous. Now, I probably shouldn't have to repeat any of the laws, or rules, I should say, about internet correspondence, but they cannot be repeated too often. Even someone of my age practices safe behavior when they're online. Do not give out personal names. Do not give out where you go to school, where you work. Think twice about giving any information about the specifics of the location of your home. There are dangers out there. You need to preserve caution. As far as reaching out to people online, what I do when there's someone I am interested in is I pay attention for a while, see what their conversations are about, and I'm using that same practice here on YouTube that I've used in e-groups over the years. Get a feel for someone. Not everyone's someone you even have an interest in having a correspondence with if you stop and think about it. If you were all gathered in a room someplace and talking, you would not have intimate communications with everybody in the room. You would discover there are people you have an interest in talking to. There are people you will not be interested in. They're rude, they're obnoxious, they're full of themselves. There are those who you really enjoy. There are those that you could seek out as a mentor. There are those actually that you would be a good mentor to. Think of the internet as a large room full of people you are getting to know. You should be selective. And when there's someone you have an interest in corresponding with, or an interest in sharing a video with, you need to know at any given moment throughout the communication that the respect is mutual. When you are online as a seeker, and you have questions, and you are trying to learn the best you can with no one in your face-to-face life who can mentor you in this particular area of paganism and study of that kind of his spirituality, know that you are equal in the process. If you are young and you have questions to ask, you should never feel that someone is looking down on you or they are the all-knowing. Any small inkling that that's in the relationship, there are other people you need to be communicating with. There are too many options to allow yourself in any online relationship that is not of mutual respect. I think the internet is a great avenue for research. And the reason I'm saying that is not because I have used it for that, but I am saying that because I meet people all the time who I feel a spiritual kinship to. We are in the same place. We are experiencing divinity similarly. We practice similarly, if not identically, and they may be completely book learned. They may be completely internet learned. So I am saying there is power out there, but use discernment. Not everything's true. Not everything's true to you. Think. Don't rush it. Don't collect information like an encyclopedia for the sake of collecting it. When something rings true to you, live with it, experience it, ask questions about it. It's a process. It is not something that in 30 days you're where you need to be. It's an information gathering which leads to an experience gathering process. Don't hesitate to reach out to those you feel would welcome you, would treat you with respect, and the moment anything feels off, end the discussion. This advice is as true for the 16-year-old as it is for the 50-year-old. I think we all know this. We do need sometimes, though, to remind ourselves. I hope this is helpful. I think it's probably words you already know and advice you've already either received and or given. But heed it, be careful, and enjoy. My part.